So, how big of a fan is one? Is an interesting question. For me, I'm a huge Alex Toth fan. So, when a company said they were making this product, I was like, that's cool and all, but what the fans really want is this product. So, yeah, I bullied this product into existence. Let's talk about it. Oh, I made the right choice too. I'm so glad I bullied them. So this is a series I've been wanting forever. I'm a huge Alex Toth fan. He is an artist, and so I love composition. I love quick reads, and like Toth is my North Star. And I wanted this one forever because this is one of his earlier works, and it's one of his rougher works. And what I mean, we'll look into it. What I mean by that, though, it shows off like how little you need. So off the bat, this was a Kickstarter, and like I said, this I bullied them into, so I had to get you had to get both versions. And but man, I will say this: they put a lot of care into this version because like you can kind of tell, yeah, it's like they embossed the cover to mimic this. So it's like you got his hat, the sword down here, even on the back, you got Zorro and Tornado. And this is a die cut, so it's like they did not cheap out on this book in any shape, way, or form. And the other crazy thing is, and it's like, man, I wish more companies would do this. Look at it, like just the attention to detail. And here's the crazy thing. This one here, the black and white. So this one has a dust jacket, same context. The only difference is like got this slight difference here, and this slight difference here. When you take, and this is like, man, I don't like throwing away dust jackets. I might in this case because this has silver printing. Now, I won't lie, both of these are good, and the only thing is you can only buy this one right now. You can only get this one through the Kickstarter. And honestly, if they made a black and white version in paperback, I would buy it. Again, just to have like what I call a studio book, something I can look at and work with. But it's the exact same book. Um, Now, here's the thing with the color. I'm not the biggest fan of the colors. And it's like, I don't know, maybe because my lighting's lower over where I usually read, it felt darker, but then like flipping through it over here, it's not as bad. The only thing that kind of gets me with the color version, well, like I said, we're mainly going to go through the black and white today. I felt like they didn't understand the subject of Toth. Toth is a master of black and whites. And it's stuff like this. They'll do quick like some digital effects, and it's like these can work well. One, but it changes the line art. And when you change the line art to Toth, it's like, yeah, that's where you kind of fail. And the other problem is too, which we'll look here. So you can slightly see there's like a tone. I wish they kind of bumped up the tone a little bit more. Like it's faint, you can see it there. But the problem is then when coloring it, like it often kind of clashes. And it can make things muddy and dark. And I wish I saved a good example. Let's see if I can find one real quick. But it's like there are times where it's like characters kind of bleed in with the background because it's just dark on dark. Well, and even like I said here, they're trying to change the line art. So instead of being black, it's a brownish. And it just one, okay, so this does happen in nature. What this is if you've noticed when you look far away, there's air in between you and the subject. So when there's X amount of air, things will seem lighter because you got X amount of air between it. So something is black might look gray because it's far in the distance. You don't really need like it's a stylistic choice, and it's like you don't really need it for this moment. So, like I said, this if this is all you can get, I still recommend it. It's Toth, and also these are just fun action adventures. Like literally, this inspired like Batman. This is like I said, it's just changing it here where it's like it's little less would have been better. And I wish, like I said, I'll probably open this book later and it's like, I actually no, this is a good example. Because, like I said, everything, this is middle of the day, but everything's kind of dark, like his face in the background. And it's like, make choices, like make that lighter, make, even this, it's like this tone is close to this tone, and this is like, this is close to black. So, anyway, but like I said, they put a lot of care into this book, and it's literally the exact same book. This came with little extras for the Kickstarter. The only difference is one is in color, one isn't. I won't lie; these last two pages actually read a little better, and we got some non-Toth art. So, which is it's a preview to their new stuff, which makes sense. And the new stuff looks great with the colors because that's kind of I feel like it's what it's intended. But so today, yeah, let's look at some Toth, y'all, because I mean this is the main meal. First things first, my bills. Hey, go read my comic, Bang the Ballad of the Tiger. Can't recommend it enough. You can read it free at joshgreathouse.com. So anyway, yeah, let's get into some Toth because man, like, and I appreciate my friend who I don't think he's credited in this. He was the one who brought this to their attention. I literally said this would sell better with a black and white because this is what people want with Toth. Introduction by Howard Chaykin because he's writing the new one. And I do appreciate like they show the original TV show that's based off of this, and here we go. And it's what's crazy is like I never read these comics, but it feels like you've read them. Like even just the lettering. Um, like I said, Toth was a master of composition, black and white. The other thing that makes Toth Toth, he and it's kind of weird. Yeah, because this is a pre-deadline. Okay, I'll explain deadline later, but yeah, it's like you still have line weight here. But this is still like early Toth, and it's early Toth because it's like he would never put like, especially here, he would never put this much line into a small face. And okay, so he's also known as an artist. So what is that? This is the guy that inspires artists. This is the guy that like we look at and go, "Oh, that's the answer to this." And he's got a ton of them, like each page. So it's like he's doing this black. He's basically doing a black and white with a gray. So he's got three values. But like even just simple things like this, like okay, having a slight texture on this character, having a white shirt on our main character. But it's like, hey, I need this flame to read. I will put black he'll put black in places where it's like, does that work with the lighting? Not really. Does it work with the storytelling? 100%. And this right here, this is a clear example of Toth. And the other cool thing is, like, everyone is like, oh, Mike Mignola, don't get me wrong, one of the greats, one of the best. Toth is the guy Mignola looks to. I guarantee that. Like, everyone looks to Toth. Hi. Except for Abby. She's not impressed. Hi, girl. But here's the cool thing. So you got this silhouette and this is such an easy, great trick, but it makes it feel like we're in the scene, like we're looking across. So it's like cool. Then you got her, but then you got these characters here who are framing this. And by adding a little bit of texture, we're looking here because everything else is kind of white. Then you got another frame here. So it's like you got a frame within a frame within a frame. Yeah, within a frame because it's like here's a big frame, here's a frame, here's a frame, there's a frame, like boom, 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 boom. And the other trick is, can you do? So he does black on white on black on white. So that's how you layer them up. And the other reason I say like he's an artist, I mean like look at this salute. Like you read that as a hat, as a cowboy hat, but it's just a circle, and it frames a face, and it's a great device. And the other thing I love, it's like he'll do like okay, I mean like look how little he's putting into a figure. I mean anyone can draw that. That is nothing. And that's the brilliance. It's knowing where to put the iconography and having the close-ups here. And what's also great is, granted, like I said, this is based off the show, but he illustrates them so well. Like it's crazy how cartoony they end up getting. And a lot like this story. It's our man Don coming. What's his name? The son of Don Androgino, or Yes, sorry, Diego de la Vega. So he's actually Zorro. But the cool thing is, he recognizes if he acts like Zorro, everyone will suspect him. So he acts like a coward. He acts like, oh, I'm not a like. He acts like a pansy, like, oh, I just care about literature. Even to his point, like his dad is, it's like, oh. And what's funny is his dad's like in the first story, never see him again. But yeah, once again, like it's just doing the simple shot, like using it as a shadow, then having that line cut around. And I often say like a lot of artists will do ghosting or like, it's like, oh, I got to show the outline here. You really don't. Because if you let things fade into black, they look better. And and I need to remember this too. It's like he spends a lot of time on this panel, then it's like he puts less and less detail, but he gets interesting angles. Same thing here. It's kind of, and he does this with Zorro all the time. It's the reverse, where it's like you have these two characters, someone in the background, then we see from their perspective, but often it's like they're in the light, he's in the shadow. We'll see that a bunch. And I love, yeah. You're fine. But yeah, it's also like I said, it's great storytelling, and even here, like having that here, woo. And he knows how to blend things. It's like let me show a lot of characters, let me not show the characters. And like, look at this interior. You know what kind of house this is. Like, you can almost feel like the desert air, but at the same time, it's not a lot. Because it's like, yeah, we got some like some striping here, some detail here, boom. And here he later Toth would never do this. Early Toth did. You can see where he kind of ghosts this, and it's like later on he would just black that out. Like even here, he's not. He would black that out almost completely. This is a great one though. Like master of shadows, just the best. Yes. And this is where he determines to come with Zorro, the fox. And you know what's interesting too? I noticed this throughout. It's rare. He would show a lot of horse riding, but it's rare to see their feet. Often things are obscuring them. And man, these are the panels I live for. Because once again, it's like the light, but that dark framing shadow. And that's almost like, that's a Mignola. That is completely like, if Mignola did not look at this, I would be shocked. But once again, it's like, and just like knowing when to do everything in black. And what's interesting too, especially like, man, if you had to do a Batman book, whoa, could not think of a better one to look at. And the stories are, like I said, the stories are simple, they're fun, this isn't one you want to like, you don't want to read all at one sitting. I enjoyed like reading this for a week or so, and it was great. I mean, look, like you're gonna hear me say it 1,000 times, but look how simplistic this is. Like in some way, and this is the interesting thing with Zorro. So he did a lot of work for Hanna Barbera and such, but later on he became a lot more not like more confident in his simple lines. And in some ways, this looks more like a really detailed thumbnail. And not in a bad like that sounds like a negative. It's in a positive because the thing that's hardest with comics, it takes time to do, and it's like it feels like he's knocking these out, and he can make choices that are really smart. Because even like framing here with the bar, like drawing bars takes so much work, and just blacking them out is the best solution. And even here, what's great, you have a sword here, but it makes it into two panels. And you get this great spread, like he's completely surrounded by all angles. And what's great too is you can't help but look at him because all the swords are here, but also his hat is in the white with this, and it's like it's just a lighting choice. Like we know his hat is black, but depending on the angle, it's like, yeah, it's gonna look slightly different. Cause even like, yeah, even here, you can tell by the glossiness of the page, like this is a pure black printing, but yeah, you got some there. Mm. And it's like I feel like he was doing and I didn't read the introduction to this. I need to, because I don't like reading the introductions before I've read something because I'm always worried they'll spoil it. But then it's like you kind of go into his layer, and once again, like confidence. And what's interesting here is he like see later did creepy and eerie, but man, it's like you never see Toth doing such messy textures. And he does stuff where I'm like, that's a cool like I said, Toth abandoned this, but that's a cool idea. And especially like this panel like here, like anything black, I'm a slut for. I'm not even gonna lie. But what a great way of showing like, yeah, in the middle of the forest and patch, and like I said, the simplistic of the faces. Especially with this character, because he's a mute, so he never talks. So it's like that having that body language means more. I mean, look at this. Like, and this is the other thing Toth does that I don't do and I want to do. He has all this panel, the only important parts here, but you get a sense of you get a sense of the scale of the environment. But what's also cool is everything is supposed to like he's at the very edge. Something is intruding. Like you get a story. Like choices are made, and even here where it's like because he's coming to visit him. And what a great framing device. Like it feels like we're sitting here and looking over and seeing these two. Basically, this gentleman here was about to get arrested for speaking out against the government. Who would do that? And even like with the dress, like I said, he abandoned this messy look, especially with the line, like there's X amount of line weight. And he does such a, what's called hack and slash inking, because it's him just going in there and just being like, boom, boom, boom. And there's a certain energy with that that's like, I'm very precise, and it's like I wish I could do more of that. And like I said, like future Toth would never put this much detail, but I appreciate it's actually kind of fun to see what you can do. And it's interesting because like the face is so well rendered, then this background's almost like nah. Even here, it's like ah. And once again, I mean, look at that horse. Like really, let's look at that horse. That is not a well detailed horse, but he knows the iconography, so he doesn't have to make it a well detailed horse. And I appreciate that. So ironically, they have the right guy, but they're accusing him of it. And it's interesting because it's like he makes him look smaller as this like when he's like dressed up as Zorro, but not the right Zorro. And here too, like complex, complex panel. And like future Toth would never make it this complex. But it's still cool to see. I think the only thing is like these two characters get lost here, but everything else, like yeah, and like I said, this book's kind of fun because you see Toth experimenting and trying and learning like different things. Because even like this page here, very much Toth, very much Toth. I don't think he would ever do like he would do something there. He would add some element behind there to make it easier to read. Because that was Toth's game. It's like how quickly can we make it read? And like I said, it's crazy how messy the textures are. 'Cause even by the end of this book, he abandons that. And of course, like, and this almost feels this doesn't feel like Toth in ways. It feels amateurish because like Toth would never do this simplistic of a thing. Like future Toth would definitely add a little bit more, which we'll see. Someone drops a dime. It's like they're hiding him at the church. And like another great like these shot the okay. I will rave about this. Let me rave about this quickly because I keep raving about these. He does talking heads in such an interesting way. Like that it's an interesting angle. It works well. And granted, when you have only one character speaking, you can do more. But then it leads into this, and man, like talk about like a Hellboy, a lot of comics, just a great read. And what's great is when you establish them here, you can just drop them in as silhouettes. And this is very much like a very Toth choice, like having that background, and it's like that background's a black shape just to silhouette this head, and that nose sticking out. Like, whew. Here's another. Oh, speaking of like actually, I keep doing it, but yeah, I noticed with this book, a brilliant choice with Toth. Sometimes he'll show like people walking or moving. Like it's quite clear it's like once a monk, once a soldier, and it's interesting like showing different dynamics of the body. But yeah, this shot oof, like this is one of the best ones. And once again, it's just a circle for the hat as a framing device. And it also shows like who's in power in this situation. So it's like, yeah, it's a great way to have both characters. But even here, it's like he's constantly looming over him. And all of a sudden, when our man Diego comes in, aka Zorro, he's bigger than him. And like, how much of these choices are intentional? It's impossible to say. Because sometimes it might be he's just done this enough times that comes through. Because it doesn't always work that way. And then here too, like the Lancers, I mean, like that's nothing. There's not a lot of detail, and it's them picking oranges. I wish they had examples of like the original colors. I'm kind of curious how they looked. Because yeah, there and like I said, there were times it's like, man, you could take forever to render all those. Oh, let's make it as quick as possible to keep it moving. And it's YouTube is great because it's like I want people to enjoy this. I wish, like I said, I wish they came out with a version of paperback. I'd buy it in an instant. You miss something like just looking at a screen is not the same as reading it, and it's like it's crazy how quickly you start to move with like with Toth, you move fast. And they're like I said, we're starting to see more and more of his iconography. Like that's a Toth face. Like that's a little too simplistic. Like he's like I gotta add a little bit more. But another Toth face, like framing, acting, and shadow work. Like oh, his shadow work is just the best. And here's another interesting, like showing of villains, like showing the whip and then his smile. Like you don't need his eyes, but we can almost see it, even though it's not shown. Also, the Toth lettering, and okay, this is interesting too. Okay, so I talked about it earlier, a deadline. What do I mean by a deadline? Um, so you have line weight where here's a good example. So you have thick to thin. He doesn't like line weight. What he likes is an even line that you usually get with a pen, like a with the power editing. So he like pens like this where no matter what, you always get that line. So it's like, yeah, you can go down to a smaller version, but whatever that tool, it's the same line. It's never different. Whereas with like other, like a brush or other objects, you get like a line weight, which is like thick to thin. I often use, like, even in my digitals, I often use a line weight. So you can see it here. Like, it's hard to explain, but I know he inked all of this with the same tools just because I've been around. Like you can kind of see like a little. Actually, if I had to take a guess, I guess he did this with a pen and then went back in with a brush, which by adding like these thicker lines and textures, which he would get rid of. But this line lettering here, like that lettering right there, that's where you can start to see the deadline. You can see it like here. Like I said, Toth loved that simplistic. Like Toth did everything to make it read as fast as possible, including getting rid of detail or line work. Like if anything would slow you down, he's like, I want it gone. And yeah, it's like, I mean, like I said, once again, and even like the commander here, like just little choices like having that hole in the shoe describes the character. And like like it's like three dots in a circle. On like he did his own lettering, and one of the reasons he did that so he can control everything. I mean, like look at the shadow work. Like him coming out here, and it's like his friends laughing because he knows the truth. But same thing, like, and I could take almost any page and talk about. It's like, hey, these two are bringing in a prisoner. Easy to hear. Look at the framing though. It's like boom, cut the black with his white smoke, and it's two simple things. Like he has a mustache. He's got a full beard, clean cut, cigar, hat. Like you never see this character without his hat. And yeah, they're both soldiers, but one's like, he's a good nature, like, he doesn't want to do this, but it's his job. And same thing, like, and sometimes, like with Toth, sometimes you have an object in the foreground, some like here, sometimes you don't. I could spend all day. And here's the crazy thing too. Toth would never like later Toth would have more structure to this face. Because it's like it's slightly off. Um like there's just something slightly here, especially like drawing a jawline. It usually breaks the form. Like it's one of those things. The second you learn to draw that, your life gets better. But yeah, like I said, it's simplistic. It's almost drawing. It feels like he's almost drawing with ink. Then this right here, like talk about like a powerful like. Whoo! You need to do shit like I need to do more shadows like that. And like I said, it's just having these moments where it's like, it's like, hey, I need to show this figure in white, cut that black. Same thing, like, and here's the thing too, like, okay, colors can come in, and actually, let's see if we can find this because I bet you the colors made that blue. And one other thing, it's a slight thing with this collection, no page numbers, which not the end of the world, but at the same time, it's like it is always nice, yeah. And yeah, this is actually here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Clear as day, like making that like the rest of this is kind of gray, but this is white, so you look here. They kind of ruin that because it's like you could have made this dark, could have made this like a medium, but then they add these random highlights, which is like, yeah, Toth like he had a little bit, but overall, it's like you lose. Like same here, it's like you have this subject here, you lose a lot of detail, and you got these like pure whites, which very rarely happens in humans, especially at night. So choices were made. I don't like the choices. And another one here, like having, I don't know, almost half your panel just be black. Like just having that be like, hey, I want to cut here, like forcing you to look here. And once again, it's like I will have a white face, then a white line, but then cut into this dark. Like this is this what kind of drives me nuts with like a lot more modern comics. And honestly, it's like you want to look at my work. I constantly do stuff like that. He says while flipping. Yeah, because like right here, add a black line here. Oh yeah, perfect. There's a reverse of that. Literally, boom. White, white, then boom. Like I said, I look at Toth. If you're a fan of mine, you just don't know you're a fan of Toth. Like, and just the perfect like zoom in, like showing it here, then you can zoom out and show everything. And sometimes too, especially in action, you don't need to show the full body. Like sometimes seeing less is more. And I think I talked about with Toth in the like DC horror collection. And yeah, like what a great bold choice of a shadow. And this is like future Toth where it's like, yeah, that white, it's doing like black on white on black on white. Because even here, it's like future Toth would have cut this with a black. And I won't lie, after reading this book, like there was a moment where I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna push the blacks a little bit more. Because like I said, a great framing device. And the other thing with comics, especially with talking heads, change the size of the figures and the dynamic and the angles. Like, I mean, look at that. That is such a great shot. And it's just showing them in like, walking through the garden. Then you get to this great face right here. But it's like, it's just variation, because even here, it's like, yeah, it's all talking heads. Of course, they're worried about a ghost, but yeah, same thing. Like, we kind of know it's like, okay, you do these shadows enough, it's like, oh, they're in the woods, they're kind of in the tree, You show this iconography enough, you don't question it. Later Toth would not do these kinds of lines and these details like this. Especially, you almost can see him learning where it's like, hey, I have to cut in a white here. I think this is where you kind of realize it's like, okay, I wasted all this time with this texture. How do I not do that? And yeah, like I said, I love especially Zorro just having like that flat back mask. It's like would a mask look like that on a human? Not really, because you'd have to show more of the contour of the lines and stuff. But it's like it's simplistic and works in comics, especially too, because like if you notice, he's got all these details and fringes. We don't draw that. It's like I don't have time for that. I love this iconography with this Native American, like slightly showing different, just a different face structure. And same thing here with the window, like just perfect. Also, I think I said earlier Indians. I meant Native. Sorry, in this story they say this was made in the 50s. Like it's not. Uh, Not everything's like actually overall this is aged pretty well. Like outside of just that term. And like I said, I'm you grow up, you try to do better. But anyway, um, but man, like I said, it's especially here. Like, look how, and sometimes too, it's like having just the white sky says more. And honestly, like if I was coloring this, I would have left that white. Well, I think I called this horse tornado. It's torpedo. No, it is tornado. Sorry, it is tornado. Love how I second guess myself. But once again, here it's like two squares and a white object, like cut here. And like, man, talk about like a powerful silhouette. Like you didn't even you could have blacked that out with the horse. And there's like another great one. Yeah, having this white here, the character slumping, sleeping. Meanwhile, he's in the shadow with the white behind him. Just brilliant stuff. And this was a fun, like, didn't work out for his pal here. But like once again, and like I said, if you have a hard time with like horses or stuff, don't show the feet. Like just obscure it with smoke and we buy it. And like I said, talking heads, but like look at that panel. That's such a like no one does panels like that, and it's such a great choice because this the problem with a lot of like modern comics, and it's easy to fall in this trap, showing them side by side in a medium, and it's like no, change the angles, make it like bigger or lesser. This is a page like everyone you always see this page, because it's like a great figure here, easier to read. That face right there is just prime Toth, and you can kind of tell like there's a big difference between like here he's got all these like details. Where was it? If anything, I should keep a page. Let's do this. No, come on, come on. Ah, let's keep a page. Let's keep the bookmark. Yeah, it comes with a ribbon. Yeah, let's keep the bookmark here to keep looking back on that page compared to others. But yeah, like the one time you don't see the sergeant with the hat, but you know it's him from the mustache and his like he's the only fat guy here. And just great shadowing and iconography. And once again, like there's nothing to that ear. That ear is a circle. Characters looking, yeah, like just menacing, and they're like there's a certain weight with these like characters, especially using the shadow like that. And like I said, I don't know if light hits here, if it's 100% perfect, but it works well and it's just fun. And it's like I said, sometimes knowing when to zoom in and when to zoom out, great. Like using that shadow. Oof. Like he loves framing device, like loves framing devices, which is a smart choice. Because like I said, you almost have like his shoulder, putting weight there, framing device. Even this wall is a framing device because they're both in gray. Framing device, framing device. And even even here, it's like having you kind of go here, but you go here and then boom here. But you need to set this up so this works here. And man, talk about another thing that's a pain in the ass stairs. Like, and it's like, well, I could take the time forever to draw stairs, or I can have you fill in the details. And this is one of my favorite panels because it's like that is such a bold choice where it's like, whoo, I wish I had that kind of guts. And man, once again, like especially like, and I'll do this, like I'll cut in white here, and it's just great because you have this framing, like this big object, but the important part's the smaller one. And sometimes, yeah, like I think that's the thing with Toth. I learned this time around. It's like sometimes have the environment be the character. Of course, they fall in the tar pits. But yeah, like I said, this whole book, like each page is just a masterclass in like simplistic character designs, acting, framing, um, panel layout, black, white, and gray. This one feels like a little bit rushed compared to other ones. And I don't know if it's like it was a deadline thing or him playing around with style. Because I get the feeling too with this care with this job, like I think I heard it didn't pay the best, but they also let him like alone to his devices. Because yeah, I mean like that's simple. Like it's hard to describe, but that's a level of simplicity you would not see with like Toth would get more simple than this, but his construction's always like on point. He's not this loose, and it's not a bad like yeah. I'm not saying this is a negative and such, but yeah, yeah. Because once again, like great. I mean that is so. Oof, that could be a Batman page or a panel, and it's like such a great way to show off. Same thing here. It's like part of Zorro is that hat, so let's just show off the hat, especially compared to a kid. And yeah, it's like we can't see the mouth, but the eyes speak more because we're hiding that. And yeah, even here, it's like this silhouette's a little messy compared to like later Toth. And this gets interesting too, because one, how do you show like candlelight? And this is a great way because not to keep picking on the new version. This should be easier to find. Yeah, something like something's kind of missing here because there's like a starchness to this that you're missing here, and it's hard to explain. Like I won't lie, this is a great. This is they did a good job here. I'd almost line that up though. Yeah, because it's like you could have dark like you didn't have to change this line art and just like darken all this and have the characters be lit. And honestly, it's like instead of doing like a Photoshop trick, it's like just make it flat color. Just make it a like a yellow circle to indicate this fire, and it will work well. Work better. Once again, like I said, crazy angles. Whew. So this is the eagle. He's trying to take over California, and that, like I said, framing device, like big framing device. These two characters looking here today, like this is a meal onto itself. Like like I could spend forever. Because part of me is like, this video is going on too long. No one's going to listen to me ramble. At the same time, I did this channel so I can ramble. But yeah, like once, and how often have we seen like this composition, this panel where it's like, BS flowers, two characters talking? Because even here, this is the audacity of this man. It's like, some flowers, woman's face, part of a square, call that a hallway. Oh, we'll have this character here, like, that's another panel you could easily do. And like I said, I fall in this trap where it's like it's easy to show like I have to show the heads each time. I have to do this. It's like you really don't, especially like and this is another prime example. It's like white, black, white, black, 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 white, 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 white. And it's also like having big like black, big white, little bit here, like changing that texture so it reads quicker. Oh man, oh man. Zorro is such a great character design too. Like just that mask and that cape. And what's great is, this. Oh my god, if you want to make comics and you want to do like comics like a badass, this is what you do. The L. Because this reads as a building in shadow, but it's literally just an L. It is two lines. But by doing that, it just looks cooler. And even here, like yeah, we read that Zorro. There is more detail in this swords than the whole figure right here. Ugh. And yeah, and like, with this one, they're hiding gunpowder. They're trying to take over California. The stories are fun. They're simplistic, and I do recommend reading them. They are great stories, but like, this video is just highlighting how amazing Toth is. Like, look at all those shadow details, but just to then have the white here break, like, because it's gray, black, but white here and then gray. And it's like there's white here, so you'll look here. Oh, oh, yeah, one of the rare times you see all four hose on the horse. Another like talk about amazing shot because it's a straight line, a little bit of rocks in the foreground, so it feels like we're hiding behind them, but a straight line, and then this sweeping like clouds and stuff. Like oh yeah, Alien Books, please put out a black and white version of this so I can tear that up. And like just amazing. That little bit of white, like such a great framing device. And like I said, and even here, like they're kind of equal on par. Then she overtakes him, but like look how like he's technically bigger than her physically, but look at like just the dynamics and a change of like brilliant moments. And often Diego here gets captured and gets blamed to be Zorro. It's like no one would believe you're Zorro. But oh man, oh you want to talk about like perfect panels. Characters are kind of falling asleep, nodding off, but it's like you can tell it's night. That silhouette there, the white there, the white there. But once again, it's just like knowing when to use blacks and when to use grays. And here too, like literally just using a line just to kind of indicate like, hey, there's some background there. And it's like you don't need to do, and that's the other, like I said, the lesson with this, you don't need to draw everything. Because sometimes, trust your audience. How smart are they? Because, like I said, okay, this is a prime example. Like, look how busy and hard to read that is. Same texture and busyness, but all of a sudden he's getting better where it's like, let me cut this big detail here. And yeah, oh man, this one, whew, this panel, I lost. You can kind of learn when I lose, like, but man, like, just having that black, oh, I should try to form sentences. This works so well though, because it's like you have this great shot of him, his help, like, and this could be Alfred, this could be anyone, but then just having that little bit of black, like showing. Sorry, the glare. I'm looking. I'm not looking at the camera. I'm really invested in this. I'm not joking. This is me actually excited. But it's like this is showing him going back into the light as he goes out into the night, and then yeah, like that little, like this random shape here, and it's great too because it's like yeah, you can draw the figure, but having him like making him go into the shadows a little bit more interesting. And we've seen, it's the same sergeant. We've seen him 1,000 times. And Zorro, and usually the Zorro fights are only like 2 panels. And it's like I wouldn't, me personally, I wouldn't want to cheat there, but it's also good to know that's how you can do it at times. And yeah, he often did this like ending where it's like, the main character's like, oh, who would have guessed? But then you come back to here and it's like, oh, and another like, and sometimes it's switching it around. Like, we had that. This one will be easier to find. Because we have this panel here with the black shades, but then we have this one here with the white. It's just breaking it up, just switching out around stuff. What I also love too, it's a bear. You never see the bear's head. It's literally just like, I don't know, back legs. I don't have time. I don't have time to draw all this. I don't have time to draw faces. But when I do draw a face, I'm going to make it worthwhile. Still in the gunpowder. And here, oh man. Oh, okay, I gotta reposition my sitting on this one. This is a brilliance, especially having shadows, because the shadow of his hat is framing him. And what kills me, especially with women, we don't show shadows anymore. We light them so it doesn't show shadows, but you miss out on such great moments. And like I said, here, like two characters talking, you could tell the weight of the world, especially like having these different angles and design. Because what's crazy is the only white is the light behind them. So it's like, yeah, you get the idea they're in a dingy kind of, dive bar talking. Another great, great lighting, great shot. Having this character like weight of the world, he wishes he was on the other side. Like he looks trapped even though he's in charge. And I mean that face. Whew. And what I love, like he's slobby, he's like a character that doesn't have a lot of, doesn't have a lot going on. Then talks to her and quite the opposite. And yeah, like this great, like this dry brushing. It's like he wouldn't do this again. it even looked like oh, and you know what? This kind of works, but it's like how messy he was back here compared to here. It's like he's starting to tighten up and tighten up, and that's the cool thing about this. Especially like this is a great texture to use. He'll never use that again. And man, that like that boldness of the face, that angle up, like oh, that is like not the easiest thing to do, but it's reads so well. And yeah, just the drape. Like, did he need to use the drapes? No, but it's almost he's and I. This is a trick I do all the time because like let's see. Let's pull out my comic. Oh yeah, here's a good example. So you got like all this line weight here, then black here, and he's doing the opposite. It's like okay, the background's black. Let's break this up a little bit so to make it a like a different gray. Oh, great shadowing. And yeah, like I said, the rock work here. And a lot of the stories are similar. Like, I'm not saying these are like profound, it's like, no, they're adventure comics made for kids, but they're fun reads. But what makes it great is Toth. It's like, is Toth. Like I said, if you see the name Alex Toth, it's a book worth buying. I regret not getting books. Like, I didn't know they existed at the time, and I regret I don't have a time machine to get them. Because especially starting to fill his own, get into a certain character design like this here, like, whoo. Okay. So, and he's a master of this where it's like, okay, show a close up here, zoom out again. But like, look at like, this is, I know I've seen this in Lone Wolf and Cub, but like another great moment where it's like, hey, let's have a big black, how to show movement, like have a character be like, that is almost a panel of itself. And there's that shot. But yeah, this is like another great hero shot of the character. And you almost could have like if it was me, I would have probably cut out the eyes or something, like add a little bit of white, which you didn't need to do. And yeah, it's like it's also mimicking. It's like okay, it's showing the black and white, like breaking up the shapes, but also kind of shows like makes it look like she's trapped. You want to make her look like she's trapped because visually she is. And like I said, we saw this earlier, but he would do this where it's like, hey, Zorro's outside, so everything's black. So it's like, yeah, let's have all the light coming in here, so we can make sure. Like I guarantee you, Future Toth would have dropped that out. Oh my! Like I read all this, and it's still. I don't know if anyone will watch this, but if you've gotten this far, thank you for listening to me ramble. Because especially if you need to draw cowboy hats, like that is such a great trick. Like two circles in a barrel. And once again, it's like you could go through and draw all the powder, or just make it like a generic shape. And he like a map. Once again, like showing characters runs, like well maybe just show the feet. We don't need to see everything, and it leads to this moment here. And what's interesting as he goes on, like you don't get as big of spreads as often as you used to, but you don't need them as much either. And once again, like cutting out interesting shapes because once that's just a square. That's a square. Like you could play a game. There's a square. There's a square. There's a square. And like yeah, we know he's inside his house. You don't need to show all the details. In some ways, it's more important to see the acting. And I mean, what a master of acting. Like, whew. And I think the biggest shame was like this was the most work he did on like a single project, which is fun. But it's like I feel like yeah, if he got like a character at DC or Marvel, people like more people would be clamoring for him, which is a shame. It's like because he didn't draw the spandex in the right orientation, but whatever. But yeah, like and like I said, Future Toth wouldn't be this messy or rough, but it's interesting as an artist because it's like, oh, I can do this. And this one I love where it's like, let's make the doors black and then the character white. Because usually we do the opposite. Like he's been wearing black all the time. It's like you can drop that out. They don't need to share the same value. And showing him on the couch with that simple pattern. Yeah, I mean, like this one, like this almost feels a little too simplistic. Great, like great shot. And like I said, sometimes zooming in is it's. I would love to see his thumbnails. I don't know if they still exist, but it would have been great to see the planning. And sometimes you need like these close-ups, like this watch becomes an important element, so let's zoom in on it. Yeah, him thinking, looking out the window, but that's like we said. Yeah, they even. I mean, they kind of show the windows, but it's like we know he's in a room, so it's like, oh, we don't need to spend time drawing every angle. I mean, like, yeah, compare this. Yeah, like look how detailed and complex this is compared to where we are. And I think the beauty is getting somewhere in between. Because I do love this, but it's like this is a quicker read, and it's also the only currency with comics is time, like how much time you can put into something. And I'll say like there are times people do stuff to cut details for deadlines. The trick is to make it look like you didn't do it, like you don't know when they did or not. Another great, like even from this to here, like adding a little bit of detail, such a great angle. And like I said, just dropping, not having to worry about all the detail. And this is like having your butler wear like what a great way to show off the costume. Because we've seen it 1,000 times now. We know you're buying Zorro. Didn't have to draw the bunch, just dropping that out. Great, like once again having the two panel, two characters close, but let's put him heavy in shadow because he's reflecting on detail. And what's great too is they recognize him, so like, oh, let's trick him by showing off the watch. Great, using that frame again. And what a great, like, what a smart way to kidnap a character. It's like, oh, we'll have him follow us. Jumps out, different horse. And yeah, having these, it's interesting too, having these close ups of the character, like more showing the like showing the character during that moment than the action itself. Because yeah, it's like we could have zoomed out. It's like yeah, he could have shown all that, or he could show that moment of impact. Because this doesn't read as much as this, because it's like we're part of the audience here, whereas this is very intimate. And man, again, you don't have to show the full horse. Show smoke, but black on white. I can. Let's play the square game. There's a square. There's a square. There's a square. Black on white on gray on white on black. Like, hey, I need to draw. I don't have time to draw a background. This is what drives me nuts with modern comics. And I can say that because, like, hey, yeah, I'll do this trick too. It's like sometimes just throw in, like, even here, these are nonsense shapes, but they help, show the background. It's like you don't always have to draw like every detail, but give us something. Give us something back there. Whew. I love these two, like these little later ones, because he starts to play more with character designs. And it's like you can clearly see where he got into Hanna Barbera because it's like you got this Bob Hope kind of guy. But yeah, it's crazy because he'll make some characters like tiny, some important, and like look at this. That's a landscape. There's like nothing there. I'm a slut for yeah, black with that little bit. Oh, ah, ah, my heart. But yeah, even here, it's like, hey, this doesn't look like a square, but it's like we have a square within a square. Here's a square, there's a square, there's a square. Like, man, oh man. And like and it's interesting too, because where was it here or yeah, having this like this is such a great angle. And it's like you don't have to show the full figures, but in some ways, like just showing that like one's taller than the other. Oh, such a great moment. And yeah, once again, it's like, oh, our characters are in black, so we'll show the opposite end where they're in white and they're in black. Zoro crashes through, does this thing. Ah, and this, oh, ah, ah, ha, ha. This is where This is where things start to come together. And I will admit, I won't pull it out. The coloring on this one actually does a good job, but it's like it's hard not to. But yeah, it's like you have these characters. They're not in silhouette, but they're basically a silhouette. But that detailed like texture makes you read them and you see the people. And then it's like we spend all this resource and economics here. We don't have to draw it here. But then you get the, they're talking about this bell. So let's show us a great shot of the bell. And here too, like Frank Miller made a career off of this panel. Oh, oh. I did not think I'd be talking this long, but it's Toth. And yeah, the iconography, like, and it's something because here's the thing too, like that's that's a very cartoony face, but we recognize that face. Same with here, but it's like okay, let's push the iconography, let's push, and it's like there's certain things like deep cheekbone, like there's certain things you can do to separate a character. And I do feel like that's lost of time now, especially like you have characters like this where it's almost just a circle here, but then you got all this great detail. I also love how this man is not deaf, but he might be after this. And yeah, even like this feels like classic Toth. This you can kind of tell he's trying some new thing. Like I feel like with this book here, he's constantly pushing and pulling. And this was like the last big story. And it's interesting because he does things that like looks like classic Toth, but he's not quite there yet. Very simplistic detail, like uh character shouting, you know, square on square. I also like this too. It's like you need to show a villain, show an eye patch. But yeah, just the different angles. And even here, like having these characters look upon here, and like, okay, yeah, this one we gotta take a second to talk about. So it's like she's plainly in white, but you got that light square. Like you're gonna look at a white square. You can't help it. But she's mainly in white, they're kind of white, but then we zoom out and just having them in shadow. They're still easy to read, but we read that like, they're in an alleyway, she's out in the sunlight or something. And yeah, once again, it's like, hey, let me show a hat. You don't have to draw a full hat, full detail. And what I love here too, once again, the framing device, dark, light. But then here, like, look at that face. Like, that's just a concerned old woman who is like, I have no power in this world, but I am concerned. And then here, white on here, boom. Oh man, and like look at that. It's like, yeah, tornado, he runs fast, but it's like, look at that crazy detail. And there's nothing like those are two squiggly lines, but that's all you need. Oh, yeah, and I do love this part because he starts dropping off detail. Like, we know a collar's there, but you don't need to draw it. You don't need to waste our time. We don't need to waste your time. Zoom into the faces, classic Toth. And his acting is like no one beats his acting. I also love this because man, he like this is a rarity. He'll zoom out this far, but it's such a great moment. And it's like he'll zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, and constantly playing like he plays with shapes and camera angles. Another great one, showing the villains waiting to attack the cart. Look at that, so like, and you establish we already know who they are, so it's like you don't have to take all this time and detail to do all that again. And this one I love. Like, I wish I was this cool. Framing device, but it's like the villain, her, but you read it as like, he captured, just the angle. Like, oh, you got like three panels in one. This is another page you see all the time because like you can start to see just like classic Toth, like how much do I actually have to render? And what's crazy is like a little bit of gray here, but then just having that white light, like that white square does so much. And these stories get like basically he's tricking the sergeant to go out in the middle of nowhere while he frees these political prisoners. But another great like, oh, using them as a framing device, and it's almost like, hey, here's the foreground, here's the midground, here's the background. But because it's the background, we'll change it a little bit different by having those black lines or that black shapes. Here's some lost pages, like they were printed, they weren't from the original art, and you can kind of tell. But and I won't lie, like the colored pages read better here. Then we have the venture continues with Howard Shakin and uh, Razio. Love his art, and like yeah, he definitely like someone to follow. Brilliant artist, does a lot of great stuff. No one can follow Toth. I can't. I don't want to follow Toth. Like, ugh. But yeah, he. And what's weird is he does a lot of great stuff, but it's kind of weird looking from here, where it's like you get used to seeing the characters. Like this guy doesn't look like this guy. You know, once again, great hallway scene, great like, and he'll do some stuff with shadows where I'm like, that is brilliant, and especially this page right here, like, love this. Like I said, just the these two panels here are just oh. And what's interesting with him, this feels like a Tim Sale, honestly, but he'll he won't drop like Toth would drop a lot in the shadows. He'll pick things like, okay, I'll make the cape light, but the rest in shadow. Like, so he'll pick things more for the story and art of it. And another like, and his stuff easy to read, wonderful art, like one of the best. And like I said, then you got some behind the scene pencils, which is it's nice to see, but you know, it's like I want more Toth. You know, it's like I'm here for the Toth. Then a note thanking you in the audience, and boom. So yeah, like I said, these these were done with a lot of care, a lot of great effort went into these. I wish, yeah, because like I said, the coloring here, I don't know, they just make choices where they just make choices, and I think too, like I would be very interested to see the original colors with this, because like they're doing like more highlights and stuff here. It would be interesting to see like what the original one looked like. This but this scene, like I said, this is why Toth is a master. Because even I'll admit the colors does some great choices, like having warms here to cools. It's just there's something that's like it just I don't know. It doesn't always read well, especially at night. Like here, like you can almost not see any of these blues. Sorry about that, y'all. Um, yeah, if you can only get one, I still recommend getting this. I mean, like yeah, it's a great collection. We need more Toth. We really do. So anyway, I can't. If you and the other thing, I think it's a shame. Yeah, his name's not on the books, and it's like I think that was a licensing issue. I know Toth. I love Toth. I will always preach Toth. It kind of sucks because I feel like he's kind of getting forgotten, and like little things like not having his name on the collection on the front makes a huge difference. But anyway, check this out, y'all. Cannot recommend it highly. And oh my gosh, I spoke for an hour. Oh wow. Okay. Wasn't expecting that. Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed it. Wow. Ow. I kind of like this. Oh, take it easy, y'all.